And now, your official TigerBait live show with Mike Scarborough and Buddy Songy starts now.
All right, everybody, welcome in a eve of New Year's Eve special show tonight. Obviously, we're a night early because of New Year's Eve tomorrow night, but it's going to be a big show tonight. We've got a lot to discuss, obviously, with both the LSU men's and women's basketball teams getting into SEC play. And probably the thing that we're most excited about and most of you are excited about is the transfer portal that will open up at midnight Friday. And it's going to be a very important several weeks for Lane Kiffin and his staff. And I'm really excited about it because I was talking to Buddy earlier and I said, you know what, it's funny. Everybody's doing special YouTube shows and 15-minute segments because of this high caliber All-American position player, whatever position across the country is announced they're getting in the portal. And with the headline, can LSU get this guy with a question mark? And look, I think LSU, Lane Kiffin and his staff and Billy Glasscock and all of them are going to have their share of success in the portal, but they're not going to get everybody. Now, having said that, I didn't think last year Brian Kelly would have got the guys they got, but while it seemed like a good number of those panned out, some of them didn't. But welcome in, buddy.
Good to see you, Mike. Good to see everybody. Again, we took a little break for the holidays. I had a little burnout this year at the end of the season with the culmination of Lane Kiffin being named the coach. And so we took off Christmas Eve, and I told Mike, I said, look, New Year's Eve, I know you got to kiss the wife at midnight. I wanted to get in here and let's do a show here. Lots to talk about, a lot of portal talk about, ball games going on tonight, tomorrow, and in the Big Three on New Year's Day. We'll obviously talk about Georgia and Ole Miss ramifications for LSU with those coaches and players. Is Trinidad Chambliss going to be the quarterback at LSU? He's got the attorney, Thomas Mars, who I think he's undefeated. Him and Tiger Shark are undefeated against the NCAA. We'll see how that happens. And look, I did a full-fledged research on the existing roster. There are about 50 players on the roster right now. That does not include the 17 that are in the portal right now. Some of those guys in the portal could come back, some negotiating better deals, some will move on. But if you take the 50 and have another 7 in the portal, that's 43. You add 14 signees, Mike, that is 57. That comes up with Billy Glasscock and Lane Kiffin having about 28 spots for the portal. Nobody signs in February anymore. So 25 to 28, I'm thinking in the portal, and it's a rebuild at the line of scrimmage. We'll talk about that.
What's the smallest number you think in the portal?
I mean, we just don't know because it's such a fluid situation, but I'd say the smallest number in the portal is 20-something, because you only got 14 in the class, remember?
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right, everybody, hit the like button. Please hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do that already as well. And we're very excited because, in fact, let me look at it right now. I'm going to pull the number up. If you're not following us on our Facebook channel, please do that. We're at 149,802 on our Facebook page. Please go follow us there and get us to the 150,000 mark. The incredible growth we had there. I'm telling you, we were sitting at 88,000 followers for over a decade. And all of a sudden, Facebook flipped their algorithm on. And when they flipped that algorithm on for us, it happened to coincide with Jay Johnson and the LSU baseball team's run in Omaha. So we've had a phenomenal year of growth on our Facebook page as well, which we're also broadcasting live there. All right, let's dive into some comments. Brissett, Mike, ask Bud if you ever heard of the LSU house in New Orleans back in the 70s.
Yes, I apologize because I forget the man's name, but he was legendary that had one of those houses that was it'll come to me. But yes, I have. But I'm a little foggy with all going back in the 70s and all of the food we've consumed. By the way, hope everybody had a safe and happy and blessed Christmas. Bring it in the new year the right way. And 2020.
I remember stuff from the 70s. That's
but I'm drawing a blank on whose house it is. It'll come quickly. But yes. But once again, do you realize when we talk 70s, do you realize we're talking almost 50 years?
Yeah.
More than 50 years if you go back to 70.
That's when I first was being brought to Tiger Stadium as a child. And I was there for 77-0 and
right
68-3.
58-3 Florida. Oh, that was brutal.
Well, that was the 90s, but what was it? Rice 68-3. There was some Wyoming big blowout. Carlos Carson and so that's when I started to understand and know the names. I saw the last year of Charles Alexander.
Oh yeah, Charlie A, good friend of the show, classy guy.
And the first night of the upper deck in '79 that has since been torn down and rebuilt. I was there for the USC game in '79.
By the way, 15,000 extra new season ticket requests. If you're going to give up the tickets this year, don't do it. You've got too many great home games. But interesting.
I was scared to death of that upper deck. I was coming down the steps on my butt. Yeah.
Yeah. I know.
I didn't like that height.
I know.
Not at that age.
Look, I go back to when the Saints started in the late 60s, and we got into that old two-lane stadium, and that son of a gun would literally sway. It would. But anyway, hope everybody had a great holiday season. Appreciate all of you people. And Mike and Preston and Brian and all of us over here at TigerBait grow so much. Spread the word. We like to have a little fun. We're going to disagree. We're going to agree, but we know that that's an insatiable fan base. And I think 2026, I'm going to say it right now because we're sponsored by Mike and Alex over at Pride Roofing. You're going to have some pride brought back. But guess what, folks? It's on the offensive side of the football. How cool is that going to be, that first play against Clemson, when nobody in the freaking stadium has any idea what they're going to call, Mike?
Yep. Fire said it, hit the like button, and you mentioned them. Let's go ahead from Mike and Alex.
Hi, I'm Michael with Pride Roofing.
I'm Little Alex.
Have you been affected by wind, hail, and tornadoes on the North Shore? Well, we're here to help.
Insurance claim, no problem.
We also have a new franchise location in New Orleans.
We don't build projects, we build memories.
Though you know Pride Roofing is the official roofer at TigerBait.com.
In fact, notify TigerBait and we'll give you a free roof inspection. And on top of that, you get a free year subscription. Remember to call us at 855-PRIDE-16.
There you go, 855-PRIDE-16. Say TigerBait. And when you call them for your free roof inspection, they're going to pay for you to have TigerBait Premium free for a year. That's a fantastic deal, especially that's a $99 value. Again, commercial or residential, traditional or metal roofs, they can do both. And they've got you covered everywhere in South and Southeast Louisiana. Main branch, of course, in Hammond, new branch here in Baton Rouge, home of Thibodaux, Mandeville, Madisonville, Covington, Slidell, anywhere in South Louisiana, they've got you covered at Pride Roofing.
Appreciate all those people who have taken our advice. All you have to do is give the phone call in, 1-855-PRIDE-16. That starts the process. Mike and Alex have been doing this for a long time. They are very, very helpful with answering all your questions. Metal roofs through the roof because of the acquisition of Crown Metals. Once again, the roof over your head is just as important as the roof over ours. Trust me, great customer satisfaction. 1-855-PRIDE-16. And I know that Mike and Alex and everybody over at Pride, they're better halves. They've got two great wives, but all of those folks over at Pride Roofing, wishing you and yours the great holiday season, and appreciate you being with us this year and moving forward.
Hughes Bowden, Happy New Year's, Mike and Buddy. Absolutely.
Hughes, good to talk with you.
Don Wheat says Happy New Year, and here's hoping that Lane Kiffin era starts off with a bang. Southern Agrarian, Mike and Buddy, if the Rebels beat the Bulldogs, would this force Kiffin to sign a top quarterback this weekend? No, he can wait it out. He can wait it out, but he needs to sign too. So,
well, not that I'm going to alienate the Ole Miss people any more than they're already butthurt. But how long has Pete Golding been a head coach?
I know where you're going.
I'm just saying, how long has he been a head coach?
About 5 minutes.
Okay. How long has Kirby Smart been doing it? Kirby Smart outcoached Lane Kiffin in the second half when Ole Miss had a double-digit lead in the third quarter. I don't think Pete Golding is ready for this.
I like Ole Miss in this game for some reason.
Okay, I'm going to say that Georgia is going to put a lesson, and they're going to be tears of the Rebels. And right about that time, that game ends at 10:45.
Now, it's good for LSU if it ends that night.
Well, I just think that Georgia is one of the better teams. They're more physical, but Kirby Smart has been there. Georgia expects to win. Ole Miss is hoping to win. You got to jump over that hurdle where you expect to win. Sorry, Rebels. I got Georgia by 10.
Aaron Allgood, Mike, did you see Kiffin's interview on TV? Well, I didn't hear the one on the radio, but I was watching the game. You talking about the one during the game in the booth? Yeah, I saw it. Anything about it that you're asking about?
He was swaying. He was swaying. Listen, I had a guy.
I sway. I do that.
No, but I had a guy. I had a guy, and I think look, everybody's going to look at every little simple mannerism that he has. You saw it at the opening press conference. It takes him a while to get into the flow. He's going to get more scrutiny and more attention with the media than he's ever had in his life.
Leaving the game early. Cole Kublik having fun with him because the missus said, okay, I'm looking at that basket, and who does that? He must have been shopping at Sprouts over on Perkins.
No, I thought it was somewhere else. I didn't think it was in Baton Rouge. I thought it was somewhere. I don't know.
It wasn't here?
I don't know what it was. But anyway, he brought the basket back, but he didn't want to pay for the bags and
But that's multiple times now where he's shown himself to be a tightwad.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw a video clip from a few years ago with his daughter at the mall, and she said she had spent $700 on clothes.
Yeah.
He did this number.
Yeah.
Good for him, man. Nothing wrong with being frugal.
But I'm just saying, you will have to get acclimated to his mannerisms, because I do think, and you talked about this, with media coverage and TV stations and media outlets that want to get a piece of him, because that's the outlet from Lane Kiffin and what's going on to the fan base. And so it'll be interesting to see how that evolves. But right now, he was swaying, and he swayed over at the
And by the way, just so the national media knows, nobody in the LSU fan base gives a damn if he left that poo-poo game early.
Yeah.
All right? I could tell you as a media member, I didn't even want to watch that game. But I had to watch it because it's my job. Did you want to watch that crap? I didn't.
I actually was
surprised. The first 5 to 10 minutes were actually kind of entertaining.
They were.
And I was thinking to myself, this game's going to end up being more entertaining than I thought. And then it went right back. It went right back to 2025 football season form, didn't it?
Yeah. Well, but look, bottom line is that the book is closed on the Brian Kelly era, as well as Frank Wilson and some of the others. And everybody wishes everybody good luck moving forward. But I am happy for a new start, and I continue to give Mike props. He saw through the charade that Brian Kelly was. I did not. I thought after they beat Clemson, they had a chance to have a decent year, and it just did not materialize. But, boy, I tell you what.
Brissett says it was his dad's house. Curly Brissett was his name.
Okay.
All right, let's see. Rick Cloetti, Happy New Year, Mike and Buddy. Does Lane clean up in the portal in a few days? I wouldn't bet against them having one of the top transfer portal classes, if not the top class. Again, I'll say this. I'm probably more excited about the guys that aren't going to be as highly rated that they take, because from what I've seen of what they've done in their evaluations at Ole Miss, Chambliss is the prime example, right?
And you never know. Remember, you're
talking about this isn't supposed to be the year where they're supposed to be in the playoffs.
Well,
look what they're doing, because they didn't spend as much money last year.
Well, but look, Walter Nolan. Remember I remember you said Walter Nolan's going to Ole Miss. They really loaded up 2 years ago on the defensive side and did not get the results. LSU loaded up last year and had about 5 or 6 out of 18 performed like you thought.
Yeah. So at the end of January, and the dust is settled on what they've hauled in, I'm more interested in probably in those last 10 guys that from parts unknown and that were not highly coveted, because then you're just to see. Look, I know the work that those guys have put in the last month.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're ready for this thing to get cranked up Friday.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Portal opens 12:01 a.m. And don't forget, folks, Bernard Gooden and A.J. Halsey came in the second portal last year. Mike, there is no second portal. Only one portal, January 2nd through 16. Back to that question, I do think it does become a little more complicated if Ole Miss does upset Georgia. I think they're going to be about a 7-point dog in that game, because now you've got the coaches staying over to help Ole Miss, as well as Lacey, Chambliss, and all those guys right now.
Right.
Everything I hear, and you are certainly on top of it closer than I, is that there's going to be a handful of 5 to 6 or 7 Ole Miss players coming to LSU invariably, a couple wide receivers, the running back, the quarterback, and if it's not Chambliss, maybe Austin Simmons, the other quarterback. And so watching that game and seeing what happens will certainly impact how quickly LSU gets information on some of those Rebel players coming over. And, of course, on the same token, there's going to be some more departures from LSU.
Fire 3449. Mike, to expect LSU to make the playoffs in year one is ridiculous. Yeah, I'm not going there. I'm not going there.
I said that today on the radio show. Last time we did a show, I said they'd have a chance. Look, it's a dream. You made a great point. Brian Kelly got to Atlanta in year one, okay? Laid an egg, got hammered by Georgia, but got there. It just worked out that way.
If he goes 7-5 next year, is it a disaster?
Well, we got to
seriously.
See. No, but I mean, we have no idea what the team's going to look like.
I know, but it's 7-5 in year one, a disaster.
Yeah, because LSU fans expect 9-3 when you walk out the stadium. You know that, dude. When you feed them filet mignon, they don't want to go back to red beans and rice. That's the reality of it. LSU fans.
But in reality, is it a disaster?
We don't know how good they're going to be. We have no idea.
You just can't go there. No scenario.
I can't go there because 40+ players that aren't on the team right now are going to be there next year. How can you predict that?
Exactly. And that's crazy to think anything more than 7-5 or 8-4.
Well, but if you look at it with the glass half full,
as it is.
If you look at it with half full, you don't think about that. 7-5, you think that's a crappy season.
But you're probably going to go 8-4 in August.
Don't know.
I'm probably going 8-4.
I have no idea, and I'm not even going to try to predict the record until I see who the team is, what they look like.
Or is it safe for fans to say to themselves, I'm going 8-4, and anything beyond that is gravy, and you enjoy the season? Then year 2 and year 3, which you say, everybody says in this era, year 3, you're expected to win a title, right?
Right. I think playoffs in year 2 and compete for natty in year 3 is certainly more feasible.
So set a baseline and then say to yourself, everything above that is gravy. I mean, BK's first year, that was full of gravy.
Yeah.
You beat Alabama and you went to the SEC title game, and he inherited 38 players.
That was the highlight of his career.
So what if Lane had a year like his 22, except not so bad on one side of the ball, would that be okay?
All I know is that if you
went to Atlanta, it's got to be okay.
Yeah. Well, look, but my point is that, Mike, it's hard to fantasize or even project what they're going to look like. If you've got Chambliss at quarterback, Lacey and Barry at running backs, wide receivers galore, you've got to solve the line of scrimmage. You get 5.
They need 2 or 3 good wide receivers in the portal.
Well, no doubt, but they're going to get a couple.
And by the way, Ole Miss is going to throw the kitchen sink at Trey'Dez Green.
Well, if Trey'Dez Green goes and plays for Ole Miss, I don't blame him, but I certainly do blame him, because you know what? They finally threw him the football this game, and we saw what we've been talking about, trying to have that kid as a blocker, but they're going to throw the kitchen sink at everybody. Okay.
Brad David, when Nick Saban was the coach at LSU, which one of his assistants recruited in the New Orleans area? Initially, you had Pete Jenkins had it. I think Derek Dooley had it for a little while, and Lance Thompson had it.
Yeah. Right. So really, he hasn't been named a recruiting coordinator, has he yet, on this staff? Kiffin?
I don't think so.
No. By the way,
Oh,
new
but hold
D-line
on real
coach.
quick. I need to find it. Dane, I'm sorry. I saw it earlier. Super chat from Dane. Happy New Year, Mike and Buddy. I'm ready to say goodbye to 2025 and welcome 2026.
Yeah, well said, Snake.
Mm-hmm.
And look, there's a lot of positive. But back to the football talk, we have no idea about spring, what he's going to do. But I was just trying to point out, if you have a lot of this new talent, like you take the 18 that we thought were coming in, look at the 4 or 5 that we thought were going to be impact players, and it didn't materialize. Bauer, Sharp, Nick Anderson, Barry and Brown. Congratulations, that man, 6 kickoff return for his career. There Josh Thompson. I mean, there were a lot of misses, and you can point to the coaches, but you got to put the players as well. They've got to do the work.
What do you think Chris Hilton's going to do? His stock's going to be?
Man, I have no idea.
When he starts getting tested at the combine.
Oh yeah, he's going. I mean, he's got to interview well, and obviously he's going to run well. You know, he's going to do that. So
the only thing he doesn't have is that can help him make a team of special teams. But
he was a gunner this year on punts, and he did a good job there. But look, I think the main thing you got to do with Chris Hilton is restore his confidence. He lost his confidence this year. When you don't get the football, when you drop passes, when you misjudge your jumps like he did, he came back, and he's been hurt so much.
I just look at him, and I look at all the players that were wasted, and I don't know. The ones who are coming back, because the number one guy I think about, because it seemed like every time they threw his way, he made something happen, Kyle Parker. I mean, we didn't see Kyle Parker near enough.
Not near enough. And back to Trey Green.
No, I said that on the show the other night, and someone said, well, he had several drops. They all had drops this season.
I think at one point in the season, LSU was leading the country at one point in the season with drops. Back to Trey Green real quick. He is a Louisiana kid. And I think at this point, you got to ask Billy Glasscock and Lane Kiffin, are you willing to let him go? You do whatever it takes to get back number 14, Mike.
Yep. Mike, did you see the interview Eads did with Tanner Reeves? It was very good. I did not, but I'll look for it now.
John does a great job with Channel 9 with Jacques and everybody over there, and has been a fantastic baseball guy for all of you LSU baseball.
Baseball is going to be here as soon as you know it, too. That's what's excited right now. I think this might be Kim Mulkey's best team since she's been here from top to bottom. The next 5 opponents, 66-2, is their combined record. So you're about to see how good they are. Unfortunately, most of the people watching this show will be watching the Sugar Bowl, but LSU is playing number 11 Kentucky Thursday night in the PMAC, and that's going to be
what station's that game on? You know,
SEC Plus.
SEC Plus?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll be watching both games.
All right. And so a lot of big games there. Of course, Matt McMahon opened with A&M. And you sticking with 5 wins, you said, or 6?
I think I said 6, but I don't see enough depth for them. I'm
sticking to 4.
Yeah. So you're going 6?
4 SEC wins.
4 SEC wins. I'm going 6, so I'll probably end up 5, but 4, 5, 6. Look, they got to stay healthy, but they just don't have enough bodies, Mike. Once again, it looks like the portal, a lot of bodies. I don't know how many players they got, but
so football portal, and then like I was telling Buddy on his show earlier today, before you know it, we're going to be having a press conference where Jay's talking about the upcoming season. I mean, those usually happen late January?
January 17th.
First weekend is February something, and so always that cold first weekend at the box.
Yeah.
It'll be here before you know it.
They are loaded again, and I think they've got more position players and more pitchers than ever before. They've always had pitchers that get hurt in the offseason, but I think Coach Johnson is really fired up, and Coach Yeski's done a fantastic job with the pitching staff.
Yeah, Blaine Smith says, I'm loving the rivalry with Ole Miss now. It's like, yeah, Blaine, it's Buddy knows this because I've been doing shows with him for 30 years. When I started doing his show in the 90s, you would have a bunch of guys, probably, I guess, Buddy's age and older, where Ole Miss was the rival.
Yeah.
Whereas at that time, it started to be Auburn. Auburn was the rival from the 90s through 2007 when Saban took the job at Alabama, right? Well, and then it became Alabama, and now it's going back to Ole Miss. For anybody below a certain age, and I'm going to say probably 65, Ole Miss wasn't our team. That was the whole Archie Who and all those stories and Billy Cannon. That was, but now it's coming back, and this is what it took.
Well, you just mentioned the main number. 65 years ago, Ole Miss won their one national championship. They claim a couple of others. Auburn claims more. Alabama claims more than anybody. We know that, but they got more legitimate as well. But 65 years ago, they won the Natty in 1960, and you give them a chance. I like what they've done. I think the biggest problem they're going to have in this game is their defense, and Georgia's going to.
I've never disliked Ole Miss.
No,
I've just never.
But look, and when I was going to Tiger Stadium as a little boy, and let me tell you what, my daddy and this guy get up and go to hell. I mean, you go to hell. I mean, go to hell. It used to be worse.
Oh yeah, because I would hear those chants outside the stadium, and I'd be like thinking like I was hearing the dirtiest word on the planet.
I used to have a Friday before the Ole Miss game. We'd play Billy Cannon Run, and it would be go to hell Ole Miss, and we give a prize, Amanda prize to the one that had the best go to hell Ole Miss, the best go to hell LSU. But they're saying a lot more nasty things with each other now, Mike.
Yeah, that's child's play.
But it does spice it up, and they are one of the three opponents that you play with this non-conference 9-game schedule every year. So it's going to stay spicy, folks.
Yeah. All right. Need to talk about, you guessed it, Struby's. It's your premier fine dining destination in Baton Rouge. And again, all of our live shows are brought to you by the fine folks at Struby's, located at 107 3rd Street, downtown Baton Rouge. They pride themselves on providing a 5-star dining experience at a reasonable price, locally owned, all fresh ingredients, USDA prime black Angus steaks, 100% certified Wagyu New York strip, great seafood options. You really need to go look at their menu at strubys.com. It's all there. And while you're there, you can make a reservation. Like I tell you each week, get the lamb lollipops for an appetizer and the crawfish mac and cheese. You won't be disappointed. And you see it right there on the screen. Our friends over at Alumni Hall, and they've got all the Lane Kiffin gear. They've got the Lane train, the shirt that Buddy brought in last week. They've got the Lane Kiffin visor shirt. They're selling visors, and they got more stuff on the way over at Alumni Hall. And again, use code TigerBait10, all one word, and you'll get 10% off your anything you buy, whether at the register or online at alumnihall.com/LSU. Free shipping on all orders over $99. You got the Hall Pass rewards. For every $150 you spend, you'll earn a $10 reward for future purchases. And we've got some cold weather this week. So finally you can get the hoodies and the quarter zips and all that. They've got, you name it, if it's got a LSU logo on it, they've got the highest quality product for that. So
give yourself an extra half hour in there. But isn't it, I got to make this comment, isn't it ironic that when you have a coaching change, all of a sudden you see the Lane train, you see the visor. I remember when Saban came in, everybody started wearing a turtleneck like he did and all that. You go back in history, and it is amazing how coaches impact, I guess you could say, trends in that town, especially in Baton Rouge.
All right, let's get to some more comments real quick.
The Lane Train T-shirt's cool, and of course,
Hakeem Batiste. This is definitely Mulkey's best team since she's been in Baton Rouge. I think the sky's the limit for this team. Dane Bergeron with a super chat. I got Lane Train shirts from Alumni Hall for the whole family for the Christmas photo. Well, you must have got them early because they were sold out right at Christmas time. But I think they've replenished the stock.
Well, that's a heck of a gift. Snake is, listen, he's we're lucky to have all the kind of people that we have that. And by the way, hope everybody out there, all of our great viewers, Dr. John Sibley Butler, all of our friends out there who've been with us for every week, we can't tell you how much we appreciate you.
Chicago Cheetah. I'm excited about baseball season, not to mention the team that Kim Mulkey has put together. They look really good. Yeah. You might want to have a one game on your TV and have an iPad or a laptop in your lap streaming the women's game or vice versa, so you can watch both at the same time, because you're finally going to see LSU with a test Thursday night, this women's team. And
you heard what Coach Mulkey likes the most about this team. No D. You know what D is? Not defense, but drama. And she talked a little bit about
it's true.
this.
This team loves each other.
They love each other. You get mad when you don't pass it to me every now and then, and they go back and forth.
They have great chemistry.
Play a lot of players, great chemistry. And
this is Flage's last year, man. It's hard to believe it's gone by that quick.
And full while he has come in, I mean, it has been fantastic to watch.
Yeah.
They're exciting. I mean, look, they scored 100 points, 10 or 11 times already.
Joe Guidry, do y'all think LSU is going to have a basketball goal on the sideline next year? I hope not. I hope not as well.
By the way, speaking of Pete Golding, I don't know if you heard about this, huh? But the first press conference that Pete had on his own, they asked him about the changes, and he threw some F-bombs and said, you see, we don't have that effing basketball goal on. I'll be honest with, I'm going to agree with Pete. I think that's cheesy. And, oh, by the way, you guys might remember this. But a couple of years ago,
do they like the belt slapping too?
Belt to your ass, huh? Whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you remember this, but their leading receiver 2 years ago scored a touchdown and went in and did the dunk and landed on his ankle, and he did not play the rest of that game, and LSU won that game. So I'm with you. I think it's a showboat,
I don't like
cheesy. Classless act, but you know one thing about it now, Lane Kiffin, DGAF, what anybody thinks.
Look, there's a lot of things us fans, and I don't want to be the old guy, going against, doesn't like anything that's not traditional. But a lot of times you have to go with what the kids want.
Yeah. I just to tell you though, that cost him that ball game because that receiver was damn good and he didn't play in the second half.
Yeah, you're right, Hughes. Hughes bowed. Mike, you can come close to predict next year yet. We have no idea what the team is. I know, and
Mike has fun with that.
Here's
nothing wrong with that.
Here's the thing. We're sitting there. Preston and I got into it post game the other night about the defensive line.
For real?
Yeah, because I'm. And look, I guarantee you the coaches are looking at it the same way I am. It's just a fact. I'm sorry. There's some good players there. There's some youth there. You don't know what they are. Well, guess what? These coaches have to build a team for this year. You're building a team for this year, every year.
Mm-hmm.
You don't say, well, I hope that Joe and Dave over there in the defensive line room come along and they're who I hope they can be. No, you have to know that they're what you need them to be right now. So that's why you're going to the portal. And unfortunately, a lot of times, even though you recruited well out of high school, you end up having to go to the portal and recruiting over them. You have to recruit over the guys that you signed. And that's why it's so hard to not have so much attrition, because you have to know. You can't guess. And you can't hope that between now and August, that raw talent all becomes a seasoned talent. You need the seasoned talent now. And so that's why LSU's no different than everybody else. And that is a part of the equation of predicting the season record and how it's impossible, because everybody else in the SEC is in the same position LSU's in. So that's why the guys like Billy Glasscock and Charlie Weiss Jr. going out and finding a guy like Shambles like he did last year, how important they are and the amount of hours of film that they've been watching for the last 3 weeks.
Well, you got to remember, folks, LSU has been in flux here. BK came in 4 years and had to pick up him and Brian Poland, who was his main guy the first year with the portal. What was it, 39 players, 40 players? Okay. And so then you build all of that. All of a sudden, Lance Hurd doesn't want to come at the bowl game. He leaves and it's really gotten more active. You have to retain. But if you look at Kirby Smart, and I think Coach Kiffin said this, they want to, Mike, have majority of high school signees, especially in the state of Louisiana. But you got to keep turning the roster over just to get to 85 and just to have bodies. I mean, look at what they brought in, those 18 portal guys. They needed the bodies, like you alluded to. Those portal guys had experience, and some of those recruits.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, we can talk about Dylan Carpenter and Damian Shanklin. I mean, we don't know Damian Shanklin.
Kalaj Cobbins.
Kalaj Cobbins, I think we pretty much kind of know what he is and what he isn't by now. You got to recruit over those guys.
Well, but I mean, Aiden
you've got to get 2 big-time portal edge rushers.
Oh, you look, you've got needs a lot of places, but the bottom line that I want to see when the smoke clears from the portal, what does LSU look like at the line of scrimmage? Because they did not have the kind of physicality on the line of scrimmage, either both offensive or defensive lines.
Rick Cloetti says, I love the Buddy the optimist and Mike the pessimist yin yang takes. Buddy's right. Who the hell's knows? ? Yeah. No, that's what we do.
Yeah, that's for the fun.
And I like to prod Buddy to see if I can get a prediction out of him.
Well, listen, and I'm sitting here, but look, I said this today, and it's the truth. But can you imagine, Mike, somebody like me, type A, spicy, whatever? Could you imagine if we were doing our prediction show, and I'm going like, well, everybody in the media is probably going to pick 10-2, 9-3. Could you imagine you bellied up to the bar and said, F it. They're going to go 7-6 and lose the bowl game. Holy cow. People would have poo-pooed on you. And then when it would have come to fruition, it's like, oh, my God. So I give you props on seeing through BK. I had no idea.
Yeah, but here's the thing. You know what? I know I've done it multiple times over the years. If I think 8-4, I'm going to go 9-3.
Yeah.
Well, you just do it because you don't want to get harassed by the fans. If you think 9-3, you go 10-2.
Well, the other reason, though, I don't ever remember in all the years LSU finishing like this. In case you don't know it, folks, there are 4 blockbuster.
And
hosting Alabama, hosting Texas, at Tennessee. And the last time Lane Kiffin went back over there, they threw golf balls, batteries, and everything else. And then at Arkansas in the cold, the sleet, and the slush. And those are the last 4 games. So how in the hell you could be 8-0 and lose?
Some media too also pick real high, knowing that they're not going to get there, so then they can be full of indignation and ripping the team and the coaching staff late in the year.
Well, I'm just saying though, you better have some gas in that tank because the last 4 games, and there's only one open date because of the non-conference schedule this year. As we all know, LSU, the short end of the stick, 5 games on the road in the conference are not so bad. But, man, blockbuster schedule. But Alabama, Texas, back-to-back, Mike, you better have some depth on that team or you're going to be running on empty.
Yeah. Let's see. Where are we at? I got it. Dykes Electrical, everybody, the official electrical company of TigerBait.com. No matter how big or small your electrical needs might be, Dykes is wired for success. You need a brand new 10-story office building, they can wire that. A 200,000 square foot warehouse that you need built, they can wire that. Expand your existing commercial building, changing out a breaker, a whole electrical panel, just a receptacle, upgrading old lighting in the home or office. They can do all of it. Give them a call today at the number on your screen, 225-216-9180 for a free estimate on your project. And make sure to tell them that TigerBait sent you in. Great people over at Dykes Electrical. And we've been glad to have them as one of the sponsors at TigerBait for the last year plus. And they're going to be back with us in 2026. So we're glad to have them. Let's see. Capital City Grill. Get there for brunch. You see the Eggs Benedict on the screen. And then I'm going to show you this one, my favorite. There it is. You got the dream cake to the right and the chicken and waffles with the Steen syrup and all fresh, never frozen chicken, just absolutely fried to perfection. And you got to get down there. 11 to 2 on Sundays. 100 Lafayette Street, downtown. Great brunch menu, but if you want typical lunch fare, you know what, because you've probably been there many times, Monday through Saturday. Great club sandwiches, hamburgers, po' boys. They've got a seafood pasta, steaks, almost everything priced at $30 or below for a great, affordable experience. And look at that on the screen. Genesis of Lafayette, 0.99 APR for 36 months, 1.99 APR for 60 months, 2.99 for 72 months. Incredible deals to be had at the end of the year on 25 and 26 GV 70s, 80s, their coupes, their vehicles. Great SUVs priced below their German competitors. And there's a reason why the GV70 and the GV80 are tops in their categories for luxury SUVs. The amount you get for the dollar and those finance rates are absolutely insane right now. That's why you need to get over to Genesis of Lafayette, your premier luxury dealership, 877-856-2961. Tell them TigerBait sent you. Make it worth your while. I don't care where you are in the state of Louisiana. The folks in Lafayette will earn your Genesis business. I promise you.
Earlier today, Louisiana Tech beat Coastal Carolina, and the dweeb-ass baseball coach probably got thrown out of the game for griping about something. So good luck to the Texters. Illinois beating Tennessee right now, 17-13 in the third quarter. USC and TCU once again later on tonight, wrapping up the bowl games. And what's the difference between Cheerios and a bowl? I'm sorry, Cheerios and Notre Dame.
One of them goes to a bowl.
Cheerios deserves to be in a CFP bowl. I had a waiter say that to Lou Holtz in New Orleans many years ago. Did we have any more griping? Oh, by the way, the Irish are happy. Marcus Freeman is not going to go to the pros. Michigan falls into Kyle Willingham, who's a really good coach, been at Utah all those years. And, of course, all of the new coaches in the SEC.
They upgraded. That's a good coach.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They fell into that. So crazy, crazy scenario with all of the portal. And, Mike, let's just ask the question. How many more does LSU get in the portal and leave between now and January 16th?
I think there's going to be a handful more that get in the portal, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I mean, Caden Durham, what's he going to do?
A handful might be small.
Yeah, it could be. So we'll see. But most people I talk to want to see Tyree Adams come back.
But look, we all just talking about Caden Durham. Caden Durham's probably like a lot of offensive players in that building. And, I haven't talked to Caden. Maybe he's got a girlfriend locally and he don't want to leave her. And maybe he loves Baton Rouge and don't want to leave. But the biggest one of all, maybe he's excited to see what he can do in a Lane Kiffin offense.
That's the other thing too, So they're talking roles and they're talking money. And so this is a whole revamp as far as like Trey Green. You were talking about everybody's going to throw money at him. I sure like the way he looked in that ball game. I just think the sky's the limit. You got one more year from him. He's going to go pro after this year.
There's multiple guys on the offensive side of the ball that you should be willing to give a mulligan for what you saw out of them this past season.
And Harlem Berry, I can't wait to see him catch that swing pass
get him up to about 205 in the offseason. Man, the sky's the limit.
By the way, I'm sorry, I didn't catch this part, but did you and Preston talk about the fact that Frank sat him down after the fumble? What was the conventional talk about?
It's just
the wisdom.
It's just automatic. He's probably. Part of me thinks that Frank already knows that Harlem ain't going to Ole Miss.
Okay.
And when he put the ball on the ground, he sat him down. Which automatically seals the deal that he's not following you to Oxford, Frank.
I do know for a fact.
He sure as hell don't want to go follow you and have a hot hand and have you yank him for an end around to Xavier Thomas or Jawan Johnson or some other bullshit.
We get him spicy when he serve him a hot dog called Frank. Anyway, my question to you is that quite frankly, I do specifically.
How many fumbles did he have on the year? He had no more than 2, right?
I think he had one other one for sure. I don't know if he had 2 or 3.
A true freshman with only 2 fumbles.
Yeah.
And he's the most dynamic back you've got. And you're going to act like that?
Well, I was just going to mention, Jawan Johnson had a fumble at the 8-yard line and cost them points in a game earlier this year, and they brought him back. And so I just thought, this is the problem I had with Frank. He didn't have any feel. How can you sit Harlem Berry? He had 3 carries for 45 yards. Your brain has got to be saying, you know what? He's on tonight. He lays the ball down on the ground. You sit him out the rest of the half, and then you go talk to him at the 3rd quarter and say, look, Harlem, I want to give you a chance, but you can't fumble the frickin' ball, okay? Mm-hmm. And then if he does again, you don't put him back in. But I did not think Caden Durham and Jawan Johnson gave LSU the best chance to win that game, even though it was an irrelevant game.
Yeah. Aaron, all good. Mike, I agree with you. LSU needs a new D-line. They can't get a pass rush at all.
Boy, I really laid an egg with that prediction. I said they'd have 40 sacks, and I think they ended up with 27.
Look, I've heard it at least 2 or 3 times in the last couple of weeks. Lane Kiffin and his staff are like NFL people.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking at every film, every tendency of every player, and there's no soft pedaling. And you know what? I'm fine with it, because guess what? These are professional athletes now.
Yeah.
You want to operate the LSU program like an NFL team? It's probably where you ought to be doing it.
Yeah.
Good for them. Good for them. All this rah-rah and didn't do this. Look, go ahead and run it. Kenny Haynes with a super chat. Happy New Year, Mike and Buddy. Looking forward to the partnership at 26. Absolutely, Kenny. And in fact, Kendall Rogers is ready to go. We're going to be bringing back the LSU baseball reports, and of course, Kenny sponsors those each week.
And he does such a great job of informing the lay people that are not as well versed on the legal part of it. And I think Kenny agrees with me.
Kenny's awesome with that.
Thomas Mars is the attorney that has never lost the NCAA, and that's who's got Chambliss as his attorney. And I'm just banking on the fact that what history is going to do to predict that Chambliss will be here. And if it's not him for whatever reason, Austin Simmons, you don't have to worry about that. But back with your point that you just made, I think that that's probably the most impressive thing that I have seen with Lane Kiffin, is that he's been heavily involved, but he's been behind the scenes. And like watching practice with Frank and talking about the tendencies, and they kind of push Carius Kern. Now, this is interesting. I don't know if you or Preston brought this up. Carius Kern didn't play in the game. I didn't see any substitutes play at the offensive line. So does he get his act together, or do they want him going for good? I mean, those are the decisions that are coming.
Some of these guys, I would like to know who their agent is, and it would tell you a lot.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So it's not just mamas and daddies and aunts and uncles and brothers and sisters anymore.
And by the way, some of them, I don't fault them for getting the portal and seeing and finding out what they're worth. Look, that goes both ways. I don't have a problem with it.
Agree.
Think about it. There's a couple of offensive linemen in there that are announced that they're getting in a portal that you'd like to have back.
And they may come back. We just don't know yet.
They don't know who their offensive line coach is. Have they met him yet? Have they talked to him more than once? Are they getting low ball by LSU because maybe they're a Louisiana kid? I mean, I sure would like to get Adams back. I sure would like to get Kern back, but
and he's got to play inside next year.
But you're also here, there's also some stuff. Are guys have they been going to class? What's their grade point average? Are they late for meetings? Is there any drug tests and they're failing for wacky tobacco? We don't know.
I heard with Nick Savage now, he don't take any BS with that weight room. And look, I'm not going to beat up the strength and conditioning coach anymore, but I'm a firm believer that Nick Savage is going to bring LSU to a different level with strength and conditioning.
He's got to be just absolutely foaming at the mouth with that nutritional cafeteria up front of the building.
Absolutely. And
I've eaten there 3 times, and the food is off the chain. I always laugh at the workers that, like football staff people, they can eat there every day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like $12 a meal.
Yeah.
Where can you eat for $12 where they're in there carving roast beef and everything else? But what I'm getting at is, he's going to get them in there lifting and doing whatever they got to have to do. If it's an offensive lineman that needs to shed bad weight, or a guy like Harlan Berry that you want to put 10, 12 pounds of muscle on.
DJ Pickett needs a little bit up here.
Yeah. But they have dietitians in the building, and every kid that goes through the line in that cafeteria, they know they're measuring it out. They know what calories they need to be getting on them each day. If you can't get it done at LSU, you can't get it done anywhere. Just bottom line. Thank you for that, Kenny, again.
Thanks, Shark.
Yeah, Rick Cloetti, come on, Mike, tell us how you really feel. We all feel exactly the same way. Not sticking with the hot hand is nuts. I mean, we've been seeing that for years.
Yeah.
I mean, and then what does it say? What does it say when you yank a guy when he was, the vital cog in the 4-play 86-yard drive, and you yank him out? You're also indicting your own strength and conditioning program, because you're saying your running back is winded. Your running back's supposed to be one of your most in shape guys on the entire team.
Well,
stick with the hot hand.
Kevin Smith is the new running back coach, and Lacey is, by the way, Lacey did not have a big game against Georgia. If Ole Miss is to pull the upset Thursday night at 7, Lacey's got to have a big game for him.
Yep.
And he's mighty good, 20-something rushing touchdowns this year.
All right, Bay's Oyster Bar. You see it on the screen, your new oyster spot here in Baton Rouge. Absolutely fantastic oysters. And again, 315 North Boulevard. It's the old Jolie Pearl. They sunk many hundreds of thousands of dollars revitalizing that building. And they're serving up the freshest farm-raised oysters from Grand Isle. No mud, no grit, just clean, delicious flavor. And if you're not into oysters, they've got insanely good boiled shrimp, the turkey brie and bacon sandwich, classic roast beef po' boy, a fully stocked bar complete with top-notch bourbon and more. I mean, listen to some of these oyster choices. Barbecue Nola style. These are all oysters in the way they make them. Brie and bacon oysters, classic char grilled oysters, corn mockshoe oysters. Listen to this: baked oysters with a mixture of corn, bell peppers, and fresh herbs and bechamel sauce. That's the corn mockshoe. The oysters Bienville, traditional baked oysters with shrimp, mushrooms, and bell peppers, white wine, and breadcrumbs. And then the oysters Rockefeller, traditional baked oysters with spinach, garlic, onions, Parmesan cheese, and Pernod. The Rockefeller, I had those over there. Absolutely incredible at Bay's Oyster Bar. And need to talk about our guy, Matt Bowers. You're looking for a new your next vehicle, make sure to support your local dealership that supports the Tigers. Matt Bowers Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram on Airline Highway near Behringer Foreman has an awesome NIL deal with LSU tight end Trey Des Green. And you cannot beat the quality service they include. Their lifetime powertrain warranty on all new vehicles. Shop Matt Bowers, CDJR.com. And
what's up, Tiger Nation? It's Trey Des Green. Go see my friend Matt Bowers when you need your next ride.
Get Matt's lifetime powertrain warranty included with every new vehicle purchase.
Shop smart. Buy local. Matt Bowers, CDJR, Baton Rouge.
All right. Let's see. Let's get to some more comments. Wayne Andrews, so sick of our line getting pushed on their butts.
Mike, not only did the O-line get pushed around, I did think in the Oklahoma game when Tyree Adams came back from injury, they played well. They didn't give up hardly any sacks to OU, but they gave up a few the other night. But the defensive line, we were talking about Gooden wasn't able to be blocked. He didn't have a monster year. Dominic McKinley, known more for the penalties. That's a big face mask penalty. Had about 45 yards on that drive right before halftime. You just didn't have look, Gabriel Relford's going to be a great player, but got hurt, and that really hurt LSU.
I hear he's ahead of schedule.
Pyburn and all those guys were hard workers and players, but they didn't make that difference-making play, and a lot of hurries, not sacks. And then, of course, you didn't get consistency from Perkins. He's gone. Wes Weeks is gone. Now, I think you and I both agree Whit Weeks probably going to come back, and his little brother, Zach Weeks. And so,
but even Whit, you go in the portal and you make sure you get a really good linebacker also. I like what I saw of Devon Keys. But you need some more. You need some more bodies there because
absolutely.
Because now you have a question in your mind about Whit Weeks' durability.
Yeah. So, and you still need DBs. You still need corners. I mean, look, it's going to be interesting to see how they put this thing piece to piece. By the way, I wanted to ask you this on the radio show. I never got to it. But remember when they were rebuilding with BK and they had that rush for about 7 or 8 days where they just kept getting player after player after player. This is going into last year with the 18. What's the number we decided on? 25-ish or so? 20, 25?
I think he probably set the over under at 24, and I'm tempted. I'm taking the over.
And how many linemen of that out of O-line and D-line?
Well, if you were going to tell me that all the LSU offensive linemen that say they're getting the portal are gone, then I mean, what do you need? 5 or 6?
5 or 6 O-linemen if that happens.
Yeah.
And the same thing with defense now. We'll see. Dominic McKinley's little brother signed with Ohio State. Is he going to stick around? Sean Washington's got another year. Walter Mathis, Brown, Williams. There's some young talent in here. You know anything about the South Carolina D-line coach? I hear he's an excellent coach, excellent recruiter.
Yeah. I know some people were saying, well, he's mostly
edge.
Coach edge and end. So,
but he's coached inside, I think, one other time. Boy.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think they pretty much did their homework on that and are satisfied with that. So
they've got to get more bodies that live up to the physicality when LSU was in their heyday.
When I looked at his background, did you see anything that tied him anywhere with Pete Jenkins? Because that was always the deal that Blake Baker wanted a Pete Jenkins disciple.
I did not see those ties.
But it's hard to know. But did he coach with somebody who was a Pete Jenkins disciple? I don't know.
Well, they added a couple of other guys. They got a ton of people, including his brother, Lou Spanos, new special teams coach. I mean, new place kicker. A lot of people wanting to know if, of course, Aaron Burrell would be kicking, doing more than just kicking off. Grant Chadwick doesn't look like he's going anywhere. Probably going to be having new returners. And so it's going to be fun, folks.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Southern Agrarian. He says, excellent show. And the Franco Nation. No, it won't just you and a handful will Akeem. Frank has not had a 100,000-yard rusher since Fournette. Also, we never won a national championship with him as our running back coach for a reason. Yeah.
Well, look, the good thing about it is that you will see Frank and Pete Golding and all those guys. I gave Mike a bulletproof vest for the LSU Ole Miss game.
I thought you were coming with us that weekend.
I need 2 for me, but that's going to, you got to admit, that's going to be a pretty spicy first SEC game next year at Ole Miss in week 3. But look, Tiger fans, we don't know how quickly it will happen, but we do know that what Lane Kiffin has done at Ole Miss can be exceeded at LSU. Basically, that's why I came in here. And everybody at Ole Miss gets upset. Trev Alberts on ESPN many years ago, you remember what he said about Ole Miss?
The runts.
Once a runt, always a runt. They put up a big plaque.
But the way A&M performed in postseason play, it's almost like you can kind of say the same thing about A&M.
Oh, my goodness. A&M's biggest seller this Christmas season. The Aggies were getting all of their wife chokers.
Mm-hmm.
You remember this choker? Once again, grabbing the throat. You feel bad. Everybody talking about how much Elko weighs and he needs help, but they put a 3-spot at home after ESPN had given them an incredible BJ about the atmosphere and the stadium and the loudest and most intimidating. They scored 3 effing points against the Miami team that's been up and down. And a lot of people would like to be playing Miami, but look, it was an interesting year. Once again, don't forget about
any Amanda's tidbits.
Well, I was just going to say a lot of new spots coming in, and don't forget your traditional. Throw some of that Manda ham in there with the New Year's. Of course, you're going to eat your black-eyed peas and your cabbage and your cornbread. Cornbread, you know what that means? Gold. For cabbage and leafy is the green, the paper dollar. And of course, Black Eyed Peas is good luck. And we appreciate all of you patronizing our great Manda products. And don't forget about our friends over at Demco Dixie Electric Member Co-op, doing it the right way. Thank the good Lord, we did not have to watch the Weather Channel all year for tropical storms, floods, or whatever. A little nippy, but David Latone and that team over there.
I just would like for it to stay cool, stay within a certain 10-degree deal. This 81 day, 48 the next. I want to quit taking Zyrtec.
I was going to say, man,
my allergies.
Kudos to you. You sound like a different man.
Well, because I'm Zyrtec to the hilt right now.
Well, I know, but I'm saying that I think the cooler weather helped you. But anyway, appreciate our folks over at Demco and Amanda for making our situation as good as it can be. And look, folks, into a new year, another year. We've been doing this a long time. Just give me a couple months before we see who they acquire. How many quarterbacks?
Our 30th anniversary at TigerBait will be in November.
Congratulations.
November of this year.
That's 30 awesome. Years. So,
and we're going to do something. We say it every year, but we are absolutely doing something for the 30th. But y'all hit the like button if you enjoy the show. Please subscribe. If you're watching this on Facebook, hit that follow button. And please go to TigerBait and subscribe. I'm telling you, we're going to have a lot coming your way as we cover LSU in the transfer portal starting Friday. And I know Brian Lazar is working on a piece leading into it, which will run either tomorrow or Thursday. And so it's going to be nonstop us watching what LSU and Lane Kiffin do in the transfer portal. So happy New Year's, everybody. Stay safe. And if things start going crazy, we might do some impromptu shows where we hop on for 15 to 20 minutes just to talk about stuff that was going on. Look, it opens Friday. Does that mean within an 8-hour period, LSU is going to have 8-9 signees? I don't know that it plays out like that. But it's going to be interesting to see who gets in. I'm looking forward to it.
Look, Dino sent me Dino Caputo. You've been worked with Dino before. Oklahoma State has 43 players in the portal. Iowa State has 42 in the portal, only has 17. Here's my list of all the players front and back that are on the roster right now. Once again, reiterating, LSU with about 50 players on scholarship, 17 in the portal. If all of those guys stay out of the portal, they signed 14, that puts you to 64. That gives Lane Kiffin and Billy Glasscock 21 players. But if you get another 7 or 8 out leaving LSU into the portal, that gives you another 6 or 7 players. And so we're thinking somewhere 25 to 28.
I mean, the portal. I mean, look, a lot of you that are watching this show have been covering recruiting for many, many years. High school football recruiting isn't a third of what it used to be.
No.
The transfer portal is the new, if you think about the excitement of the old recruiting bashes, the transfer portal has absolutely supplanted the high school part of building a roster. It's that's where all the interest is at. And but at the same time, you better get that high school recruiting right. And and I think Lane Kiffin was right to say during that interview that he's adjusting for where he's at and knowing that in Louisiana, you've got to keep the Louisiana kids home.
And look, that's part of the equation as well. They were, I don't want to say bragging, but they brought it up 2 or 3 times in the initial press conference that LSU is going to spend as much money as anybody in the country in the portal. And so all these agents and these players are saying, look, they're going to spend more money. You need to get more money. And so it's one big up and down situation. Don't forget women's basketball Thursday night, right against Ole Miss and Georgia. The men play this weekend, and enjoy your holiday weekend, and we'll get back to some semblance with our show next Wednesday night.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. Happy New Year's, and thanks to all of you for being with us all year long. And here's to everybody having a great 2026. Good night.
Happy New Year, everybody.